A very good evening. Many thanks for staying with us tonight. These are some of the stories making headlines on TV47 Weekend. More deaths in OLPOSUMORU. The death toll from the ongoing clashes has risen to 5, with more than 13 others nursing injuries.
Walikuwa na mshale na walikuwa wengi zaidi ya 200.
Another person has been killed in an attack along the Kiambu-Narok border. More divide on revenue.
I want to request both the minority side and the majority side to go back to the drawing board, put the country first.
Go back to the drawing board. DP Ruto urges Senate as he opposes the third generation formula, but some of his foot soldiers have chosen a different path.
And as a Senate on Tuesday, we will pass the motion of finance and budget as proposed.
Eid without fanfare. Muslims celebrate Eid ul-Adha with no much fanfare due to COVID-19 restrictions. A very warm welcome on TV47 Weekend, and our reporters David Mudoka and Zainab Mohammed will be joining me later for Good Vibes. And my name is Mombichege. Our sign language interpreter for tonight is Faith Cheptile. Now, the death toll from the ongoing clashes in OLPOSUMORU, Narok County, has now risen to 3, with others nursing serious injuries. This comes even as the Rift Valley Regional Commissioner, George Natembeya, enforces a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. curfew in the region. The death toll in the ongoing clashes in OLPOSUMORU area has risen to 5, with more than 13 others nursing injuries in Nakuru. 2 people died at the Narok County Referral Hospital, while one succumbed to bullet wounds at the same facility on Thursday. Another victim died in Mariashoni after being shot with arrows yesterday.
Tumetokea saiti ya Taraije, walikuwa na mshale na walikuwa wengi zaidi ya 200.
Nimejenga hii manyumba yote na pesa yangu. Sina deni na yeye, sina deni na mtu. Ila hasara nilipata leo asubuhi ndio hii imeonekana. Warding half a million. Hii nyumba ilikuwa na kila kitu, beddings, blanketi, mattresses, vikombe, masaburia. Milango ilikuwa milango 5 hapa. Sote iliungua.
Following the clashes, the Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembeya has issued a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. curfew, saying that the government is in pursuit of the culprits involved in the clashes. 3 suspects have already been arrested.
Wakati huu yeyote ambaye alihusika, ukitajwa kwa kuua, kwa kuumiza, kwa kuharibu mali, chochote hatia ambayo utatajwa nayo, utaenda kujiondoa hatiani huko kotini.
Leaders from Narok County have continued to accuse police officers for using excessive force and firearms in an attempt to resolve the dispute.
I want to condemn in the strongest terms possible the shooting or the use of excessive force by the police yesterday. In this instance, 7 members of the Maasai community were shot at using live bullets, and the 7 people that have been injured, 2 of them have died.
I want to talk to my fellow residents. Stop the war. We need peace in Narok. For you to be able to feed, to eat, to grow, we need peace. You cannot develop in an area that is not peaceful. But the police, something must be done. The police must answer.
The government has condemned politicians for having a hand in the clashes by inciting the residents. Meanwhile, tension is high after one person was killed while another one was seriously injured. NDEIYA residents are accusing cattle rustlers whom they say are from Kajiado County and who made away with more than 80 cattle. Armed NDEIYA youth went on a revenge mission at the Kiambu-Kajiado border, a move that has seen Kiambu County security officers move to stop the standoff. Now, Kiambu County Commissioner Wilson Wanyanga has ordered the transfer of all the officers at the NDEIYA police station after the residents bitterly complained of the laxity.
The conflict has been intensified by the killing of one man while another was left nursing injuries. The attackers, said to be from Kajiado County, made away with more than 80 cows from NDEIYA village.
Jana duru ilipigwa. Sisi tukaenda kufikia ng'ombe. Ng'ombe zilikuwa zimeibiwa. Ng'ombe ni 80. Kwenda kufika hapo kugoga raga huko, kuelekea huko kwao, tukakuta watu kama 300. Vita kwanza hapo ni duru. Mmoja wetu sisi kujaribu kupotea. Mmoja wetu akashikwa. Akakatakatwa na akawekwa msalaba hapa.
Armed youth from NDEIYA demonstrated at the Kiambu-Kajiado border in a bid to get the stolen livestock. However, security officers from Kiambu County calmed the situation.
And I'm requesting, and since the governor was here and the commissioner, the people here are losing their confidence in the security.
Kiambu County Commissioner Wilson Wanyanga has ordered for the transfer of all the officers manning the NDEIYA police station after the residents bitterly complained of their laxity.
Timu yote ya NDEIYA itaondolewa. Kabisa. Timu yote ya NDEIYA. Haiwezekani ati mtu anakaa NDEIYA miaka 10. 13. That is not possible. Sisi hii kazi yetu tunapigwa transfer mara kwa mara. Kwa hivyo you must be very special kukaa mahali for 13 years. That will not happen. Hiyo timu itaondoka yote.
Kiambu County Governor James Nyoro has said that he will engage his Kajiado and Narok counterparts in a bid to retrieve the stolen livestock.
Tena tumeongea na IG na tumesema habari ya anti-stop theft unit. Ile commissioner ameongea habari yake, hata hiyo iko kwa njia. Na vile itafanya, kwanza itakaa katikati yenu na katikati ya wale. Nyinyi msiende upande ule na wao wasikuje upande huu. Ili kwanza tufanye ile kazi ambao commissioner amesema.
The governor further urged the locals to keep peace as county and central governments swing into action. For TV47, I'm Nancy Kimuyu.
And on the coronavirus pandemic, the number of COVID-19 confirmed cases in the country has risen to 20,636 after 723 new cases were confirmed today. Kenya recorded 16 new virus deaths, increasing the country's death toll so far to 341. 44 recoveries were recorded today, a drop in the number of recoveries that have been recorded in the last few days. Nairobi County recorded 436 new cases, Nakuru County 83 cases, Kiambu 45, Mombasa 48, and Turkana, which hasn't been recording high numbers, at 12 cases today. The Ministry of Health, however, says there could be higher numbers that have not been reported.
So it is not only the 500 per day that we report, or 200 or 100, that we are confirming as the only positive cases in the country. We are simply saying, out of the samples that we tested, those are the positive cases. But practically, there is probably a lot more people in our community who are so infected.
Now, Muslims worldwide have today celebrated Eid al-Adha, and Eid al-Adha, as also known as the Festival of Sacrifice, is a celebration that marks the end of the Hajj pilgrimage. Now, our reporter Zainab Mohammed followed the celebrations that were held without fanfare and filed the following report.
Eid al-Adha celebration started early in the morning, with the Muslim faithfuls congregating in different mosques to perform the Eid prayer. This was then followed by slaughtering of goats and celebrations thereafter. But today's Eid celebrations were different from the previous years, with COVID-19 restrictions changing many traditions. Where Muslims congregated together in prayer standing side by side, celebrations today had to adhere to the social distancing rule.
Ila leo si kama zile za zamani tumezoea. Kidogo ni tofauti. Huwezi tembelea watu, huwezi tembelea kwa watu wengine. Ufila hata kama yuko Eid, lakini tunajaribu tu.
Watu wamekuwa hapa na distance, ile social distance, watu wasije wakakutana. Pili, imewekwa masharti ambao watu walikuwa hawezi kusali mpaka uwe na mask. Sasa ilikuwa hapo barakoa ni lazima, alafu vile vile kuna ile unaangalia joto la mtu. Inakuwepo namna gani ile inapimwa ile, na vile vile kulikuwa hapo kuna kunawa pale ambapo kuna sehemu lazima unakuwa unajisanitize.
Further, the Eid prayers were performed in turns to reduce the number of people performing the prayer at one given time.
Stage kama 3 tofauti. Kuna kundi ya kwanza saa 2 inaanza, kuna kundi nyingine ikishatoka ile, kuna nyingine inakuja, na kuna ya 3.
And as many chose to perform their prayers indoors as a precautionary measure for COVID-19, many were left wandering around with very few mosques open for prayer.
Maskiti zingine watu labda wako wengi, mimi nimeona tu nisali kwa nyumba afadhali. Haina haja niende kwa watu alafu niletee familia yangu shida.
Tokana na kupanga laini kwa misali, watu walikosa dishi ya kusali kasenekana, alafu watu turudie.
As Muslims across the world mark the Eid al-Adha celebrations today, it is clear that things are different this year, with many places of worship remaining closed and many faithfuls choosing to stay at home in order to keep themselves and their loved ones safe from coronavirus, with the hope that come next year, things will be better. For TV47, I'm Zainab Mohammed.
Thank you, Zainab Mohammed, for that report. Now, the country has added 7 more countries on the list of countries whose passengers will be allowed to fly into the country when international flights resume tomorrow. Now, the new list includes flights from the United States of America, except for California, Florida, and Texas states. Now, this as the government says the list will be reviewed on an ongoing basis. Ali Lagova reports.
The government has reviewed its list of countries whose passengers will be allowed into the country when international flights resume tomorrow. In the reviewed list, flights from the United States, except for California, Florida, and Texas, United Kingdom, France, Netherlands, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Italy will now be allowed into the country. Other countries allowed to operate flights to Kenya are South Korea, Japan, Canada, Ethiopia, Switzerland, Rwanda, Uganda, Namibia, and Morocco. Transport CS James Masharia said that the passengers who will arrive with a PCR-based COVID-19 negative certificate and body temperature not exceeding 35.5 degrees Celsius will be exempt from quarantine.
For those passengers traveling out of the country, meaning you and me, they'll be required to abide by the particular travel, health, and COVID-19 related requirements of the destination country. So before you travel, make sure that you know where you're going, what that country expects. We also like to put some heavy responsibility on the airlines. Before you board your passengers, just like you check on the visa requirements, just make sure that your passengers comply with the requirements of where they're going.
Previously, international flights were only allowed to and from Canada, South Korea, Namibia, Uganda, China, Rwanda, Morocco, Japan, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, and Switzerland. This comes as the Ministry of Health calls upon all passengers traveling in and out of the country to comply to all the protocols set to avoid inconveniences at the airports.
The air travelers specifically, with effect tomorrow, they will be provided with a link from their airlines and also from the booking agents, With that link, once they click the link, it will bring a surveillance form. In that surveillance form, they will be able to fill the details as shown in the surveillance form, and then they will submit.
Passengers arriving past curfew hours with valid tickets for clearance will be allowed to proceed to their hotels or residence, while passengers departing after curfew hours with valid air ticket and boarding pass will be allowed to proceed to destination or departure airport. Drivers picking or dropping passengers past curfew hours at the airport will have to show evidence. The Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure, in collaboration with the Airport Authority, will also review the timing of flights to facilitate physical distancing at the airport. Eli Logova, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, many Kenyans are still flouting the government measures, even as the COVID-19 cases continue to surge in many public transport. Vehicles in the city are not even bothered about the measures. Juliet Njao filed the following report.
Carelessness and a lack of civic duty led Kenyans to board public service vehicles in excess, regardless of the COVID-19 protocols on public transport. As the country enters a perilous phase in the fight against the coronavirus, simple rules of social distancing and maintenance of hand hygiene are not being observed. Every day, hundreds of people sit or saunter outside the Kenya archives. No social distancing, no hand washing or sanitizing, and many have their masks under their chin. According to Evans Okumu, the caretaker of Tom Mboya Square, ignorance and kingship relationships are to blame.
And there's a bit challenging because most Kenyans, they know. Some of them know, but I think too much of it is blamed on the ignorance. Yeah, I will blame ignorance because social distance does not mean you have left each other. You are just apart, but you are together. But you see now the greatest problem is that most Kenyans with their culture, with the issue to do with the relationship, people are so much related that if they walk with their kins, they don't want to separate, to sit apart. They just want to sit on each other and sit together.
Some matatus with a very high commuter turnover, ferrying passengers from different places in the city, no longer comply with the COVID-19 public transport guidelines. Some are even carrying excess passengers. At Kayole stage, it is business as usual. Beba is the word. The economic concern seems to supersede the health concern.
But some, I cannot say all, but some batteries, they are carrying excess passengers. The reason being because you're finding that the amount of money, the amount of salary that you are being paid is quite little. So you have to carry a little extra more, at least to put something in our pocket.
Masaa ikifika sasa hapo ndio wanabeba excess na pesa, watu huwa wanakatua kidogo, saa zingine wanalipishwa bei kali.
But for some PSVs circles like Umoina, hand washing and sanitizing is the new normal. Hardly a passenger boards their matatu without sanitizing. According to Andrew Maina, who is in charge of Umoina matatus, everyone should take it upon themselves and follow the guidelines. We are dependent on each other, he says.
Hata kama tunapitia ugumu katika biashara, bado still tuko pamoja na serikali kupigana na hiyo ugonjwa wa corona.
The matatu industry employs thousands of people. This sector is an essential service provided to many commuters, and some operators know and appreciate that COVID-19 containment is a civic duty.
Watu ni wasanitize mkono na wafanye hivi na hivi venye serikali imesema, kama ni hivi tunafanya hivi, unaona.
Nonetheless, the simple duty of sanitizing, washing of hands, social distancing and wearing of masks seems to be a puzzle too complicated for many Kenyans to solve. But it's not. It starts with self-discipline and obedience to the set laws. Nairobi remains the epicenter of COVID-19 infections nationally.
Thank you, Juliet, for that report. Now, Deputy President William Ruto now wants Senate to generate a fresh formula that will ensure a win-win situation for the counties. Ruto says that the current disputed formula is divisive, as Elizabeth Mutuku now reports.
Deputy President William Ruto is now calling the Senate to go back to the drawing board and draft a new formula that will ensure a win-win situation for all counties. Ruto now openly opposing the disputed third-generation formula that he says is divisive.
That is our ask as government and as the people of Kenya, so that we can move together as a nation. It is possible, from where I sit, to have a win-win formula. And I want to request both the minority side and the majority side to go back to the drawing board, put the country first, look at every county as part of Kenya, and decide on a formula that is fair, that is equitable, and that brings the nation.
His sentiments, however, are opposed by some of his foot soldiers from the counties that are likely to gain from the disputed third-generation formula. Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei says the formula must be passed on Tuesday. Nandi is the biggest beneficiary of the disputed formula.
Let us allow Senate to do its work as provided for under Article 96, under Article 203, 216, and 217. The review of formula is so critical in financing of counties and developments in our counties. And as a Senate on Tuesday, we will pass the motion of finance and budget as proposed to increase allocation to counties.
The formula has split the House, with some of Mount Kenya region MPs accusing ODM boss Raila Odinga of failing to whip his members. A section of MPs from the Coast region have already threatened to ditch ODM, which they accuse of betrayal.
We will have far-reaching political consequences and ramifications at the coast, and that their votes consequentially mean a divorce notice to the fraternity at the Coast region.
Na inasikitisha sana venye pwani imekufa na uongozi wa baba. Litoke huku, liende huku. Pwani imesimama na baba. Kwa jua, kwa mvua, pwani imesimama na baba. Saa hii tunahitaji Nyanza sana. Na kweli Waswahili walisema kufadhi kwa dhiki ndio rafiki.
And if the Senate will fail to agree on the formula, the Parliament is likely to amend the PFM Act to allow counties to get 30% revenue share before a consensus is reached. This will cushion the devolved units from the revenue delays currently witnessed.
I vote no.
Many senators supporting the formula are saying to be eyeing for gubernatorial seat in the respective counties come 2022.
You can't speak of having lost this year, this financial year, or having lost the following financial year. But politics being what it is, there are members who have kept it in their minds that the committee report is coming here to oppress them, to disadvantage them, and so on and so on. So this has become more than just interest, it's become a political issue.
Elizabeth Mutuku, TV47 Nairobi.
Many thanks for staying with us on TV47 Weekend. Let's take a short break. When we come back, I'll be back with good vibes, and my colleagues David Mudoka and Zainab Mohammed will be joining me for some of the positive stories they've been able to cover in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. Don't go away. Welcome back, and now it's time for our favorite segment, Good Vibes, and here with me to discuss some of the positive stories that have been doing rounds this week is David Mudoka and Zainab Mohammed. Thank you so much for joining me, guys, and we'll start with Zainab's story. Tell us what you've been up to today. What's your story about, Zainab?
Well, my story is about two young women with a guy, a gentleman. These young women are beating odds. They are surprisingly in the construction sector. And when I went to do the story, I actually found them in a workshop, and they were actually hands-on creating stuff, and I was blown away. Mumbi, take it away.
Awesome, awesome. Now, when you hear construction, what comes to your mind? A couple of men sweating it out in a construction site? Well, you might just be caught in a surprise. In today's Good Vibes segment, we feature a group of young women who are beating the odds and excelling in the construction business. Our reporter Zainab Mohammed caught up with the young women and filed this report.
In the middle of a dusty workshop in Kiambu's Ruaka Estate, we meet 22-year-old Amran Osman. She is in the middle of getting a project done. Amran is a young woman in the construction industry. An odd job, you might think, but this is her passion.
Well, passion. Yeah, it's passion. Pure passion. My partner and I, we met in campus, and then we decided, you know what, we like this, so let's just start it.
Amran, together with her two partners, are not afraid to break the glass ceiling as they construct beautiful homes, one client after the other. But how did they start?
It is a contractor, and my mom sells construction materials. So since I was a young kid, I've followed that trend, and I've seen it throughout my life.
Business on interior design, construction and stuff. So me being always excited about things, I was like, yeah, you know, this is possible. Kept pushing her to do this until where she is today.
According to them, the journey has not been easy, with many discouraging their efforts in pursuing their passion.
Challenges are there. You don't have enough staff or people who are aligned with your thoughts. You don't have people who see the vision like you see. You have a lot of naysayers along the way who would be like, see, the people are already in that field, and we've had a lot of that. See, there are a lot of interior designers. Everyone is an interior designer today. Everyone is in construction, so you do something else. But then if we were to follow such advice, and we would have collapsed by the time we started.
It's a stereotype that I had to break it myself. That, you know, it's possible that you can wear a hijab and be in a workshop. You know, you can wear a hijab and tell a friend, no, I don't like this, change it. It's possible.
For them, the glamorous outcome of the job is not all that is to it, as COVID-19 brought with it curses and blessings in equal measures.
I can say that people have been stuck at home, and they've seen that they need to change the environment. And so we've been called by so many people. We've gone to their homes, we've changed the environments, we've changed the colors, the setup of the home.
The trio now say entrepreneurship is the way to go, with a message to the young generation in the country.
Entrepreneurship, it's a fun game. Yeah, it's a fun game. It's a game that you can never be perfect. You think you know, but you don't know. You're always learning. Every day you're learning. Every day you're meeting new people. You know, every day there's a new challenge. So
these young entrepreneurs are beating the odds and proving that where there is a will, indeed there is a way. And what men can do, women can do better. For TV47, I'm Zainab Mohammed. Well, Mudoka, what do you think?
I mean, I'm quite thrilled to see Amran swinging that hammer such magnificently. It's about, I think I'm quite happy with what the young generation is embracing, especially in the country. What for many years have been termed as odd jobs are what even the young generation are going into. It's all about passion, and many people, it's quite easy for many people to discourage you into doing these things that have been for so long categorized as odd jobs. But this is passion. This is about, you know, following purpose and doing what you feel your heart deserves to do, and it's something that is quite impactful, something that
Mumbi, Mudoka, Amran has caught Mudoka's eye. I am even surprised how he's even saying the name so swiftly with no pronunciation issues. Wow.
I feel that Zainab,
wow. Is it love at first sight?
That gender lines are slowly blurring.
Yes.
I mean, there is no such thing as having a job for men and women, and it's like what I was thinking when the story was running. It's also about the men, because most of the time we talk about the women, you know, doing these jobs that are historically known to be male jobs. But it's the same as we see Zainab. We see men getting into the beauty industry, and also another industry is also nursing, another profession. So I think it's really interesting how people are slowly changing their mentality that only men can do certain jobs, or only women can do certain jobs. And it's really, sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Zainab, it's interesting also that this is happening in the middle of a pandemic, meaning you have to do what you have to do, like I said, because maybe you are jobless. Are you going to stay in the house because you have no job, you have nothing to do? Really, it's about doing what you have to do.
When I actually saw this story on Twitter, I know you would see that they are Muslims and you'd imagine, this must be her cousins or something. But no, I didn't know these ladies. I saw them on Twitter. I was impressed. I was moved. Being a feminist and wanting to support other women, I decided, this is a story that needs to be highlighted. People need to know that actually you can be a Muslim, you can be a woman, and you can actually do construction and still excel.
And you know, it's fascinating seeing 22-year-olds, because I think the average age is at 22, 23, have such purpose-driven lives and trying to make an impact, leave a mark.
And let me not mention the amount of money these young ladies are making, because you would be very, very shocked.
They're making a lot of money.
No, not little. I mean, it's in the ranges of. Let me not say, because I was asked to keep privacy, but they're doing really well.
Wow, interesting. And it's funny how we ignore such jobs because we think they are odd, and people are making a kill out of these jobs. So it's really, really inspiring as well. Don't be choosy. Whatever comes your way, you know, do it.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zainab, for that story. Really, really inspiring seeing Muslim women, you know, get into that kind of work. Now, Mudoka, what's your story all about?
With COVID-19, I think it's been all doom and gloom, but that doesn't mean that we still have some happy stories happening around us. You know, Kenyans, and how creative and how innovative we are. Whenever this pandemic comes, we have ways of spinning them into being profitable for us and into being things that at the end of the day put smiles on our faces. So I did this story titled COVID-19 Blessings in Disguise. It's about this lady whose business was doing terribly pre-COVID-19 season. Then when COVID happened and people were asked to stay at home, she chose now to do something that suits the new lifestyle, the new normal. And so she's been doing deliveries, and to her business has been booming at a time when many people have been laid off their respective companies. Mumbi, you can introduce the story.
Thank you, Mudoka. Let's take that story. Now, with the COVID-19 pandemic tearing into the economy and destroying livelihoods, Kenyans have been forced to adapt in a bid to stay afloat. Now, the adaptation has seen some come up with innovative ways of making money, and as David Mudoka reports, the COVID-19 season appears to be a bittersweet affair for some whose businesses are booming at a time when the country's economy continues to suffer.
The COVID-19 pandemic has seen Kenyans by their hundreds of thousands lose their jobs. Companies have shut down. taken the country's economy to its knees, but that has not deterred Kenyans from being innovative, with many coming up with unique ways of making money. And for one Rachel Wambui, the COVID-19 season, ironically, has been a blessing in disguise, having seen her business blossom tremendously over the past few months. We meet her working from home, as has been the norm for the past few months. She narrates how a decline in her baby clothes business 2 years ago prompted her to think afresh in her bid to switch to a business that would redeem her to entrepreneurship. And with COVID-19 setting in thick and fast in mid-March, many people began adopting the working from home system. Home deliveries began gaining popularity, a business opportunity that Rachel Wambui welcomed with open arms.
Things were not moving very well. You get the shop is stuffed up, you try marketing, nothing is coming through. So instead of being sorry, I decided, there are so importation groups of household items, bed sheets. I decided to start posting them on my status for WhatsApp first before I could decide I really want to venture into it. Hello? Yes?
Time to time, we had to pause our interview whenever a client will call.
I would have to source out for you and then I'll let you know.
This has prompted us to want to know how our day-to-day business is like at the moment.
My normal day starts at around 5:30. Basically, I start posting on my WhatsApp status. I go to Instagram and finally Facebook. Facebook is like my biggest platform for now. Once a client places their order, I ask them if they're within Nairobi, if they're outside Nairobi, so that we can agree on terms. Because within, like for it, when it comes to deliveries, within Nairobi CBD, we do totally free deliveries. But if it's in Westlands, Syokimau, or anywhere within Nairobi, because you're sending someone or you take them yourself, there's transportation cost.
But how does she manage to stay afloat in a business saturated with all manner of marketers, a business whose reputation is dwindling primarily because of the increasing numbers of cons online?
Online, you have to be an aggressive marketer. It doesn't matter if I post 10 items and nobody is liking, nobody is inquiring. Just keep posting, because that is what will make, funny enough, people in Nairobi especially, when they don't have money, they just take screenshots of the items. Once they are ready, that's when they contact you.
Wambui reveals that she earns approximately 3,000 shillings a day, a significant increase she attributes to her eye, mind and soul for business.
As an entrepreneur, you have to be creative. You don't want to lose that sale, and you want to satisfy your clients so that they can come back the next. Like a client needed a plastic wardrobe for her child outfits and toys. He wanted a Spider-Man cartoon themed. That morning I sold the last piece. So when I was already giving up, an idea came to my mind. Rachel, you're selling stickers. Why don't you sell to him a plain wardrobe whereby he can stick those stickers on the doors of the wardrobe? Let me show you how it ended up. So when I gave him the idea, he loved it. So he told me, if it's going to work, just deliver.
She, however, says it has not been a walk in the park. The ups and downs in her new business have been crucial learning lessons. To her, there is no turning back now.
I'm not confident this is what I want to venture in.
David Muthoka, TV47. Well, sometimes life appears to be taking us into directions that we never imagine ourselves going, but they turn out to be the best roads that we take. Zainab,
yeah,
she's making this money while almost everybody is complaining. I mean, it's fascinating to know.
There's a quote I read somewhere that don't be afraid to try a new chapter, you might just like it. And I think that's the reality of the woman in the story. And it's so impressive because a lot of people give up very easily, and many people are right now complaining that things are bad. Some people are saying that, you know, there's no money, COVID-19 has done this and that and that. But this woman is actually doing something about it, and I like that. I mean, that kind of energy is my kind of energy.
She was telling me that not everyone is cut out for business. Mommy,
yeah, it's really
that's
true.
Resilience.
Yes, but it's about, you know, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade out of the lemons. And it's really inspiring because she's mentioned some of the avenues that she uses: social media, you know, Instagram, Facebook, some of the social media platforms that she uses. So it's also about being innovative. Okay, this is not working. Having a shop somewhere is not working. Now what do I do? You just don't give up. It's about being flexible. So it's really, really, really it's inspiring.
Like, you're not a tree. If you don't like where you are, move. You know, do something about it.
Exactly.
It's not saying, oh, you know, I don't like this. No, no, no. You just do something about. At least fail while you're doing something about it.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Mudoka, thank you so much for that report. Really, really inspiring. Let's take the following report by Calvin Chitwa, where a man in Eldoret town has been making doormats and he started training people on about his skills. Now, George Njenga makes the mats in a record of 5 minutes, and many are now following him to learn this art. Calvin Chitwa caught up with him and filed this report.
His greatest tool of trade is a sewing needle, a tool that has not only changed his life, but also the lives of many residents who are now availing themselves in numbers on a daily basis to learn the skill. It's not only the beauty of the mats he has been sewing manually that attracts many, but also how fast he finishes a single mat, a record 5 minutes. Stitch after stitch, John Njenga skillfully goes about his work, attracting curious passers-by. Residents have been flocking his work premises one after another for weeks now in order to be trained. But what does he require to come up with the mat?
Natumia gharama kidogo sana. Kama gunia ni shilingi tunatumia kwa shilingi 25. Uzi ambaye tunatumia uzi ambaye ni Robin. Robin hii tunanunua shilingi 50. Na kwa hiyo gunia 25 kg natumia uzi 5. Kwa hiyo uzi 5 ndio inaweza kutoa mat ambaye hata ukua kwa umbali unaona ni kitu smart.
The father of 4 has not allowed his disability derail his development.
Niko na familia na wanakula kupitia kwa hiyo mat. Wenye wako kidato cha high school, saizi wako nyumbani pia nao ni muafusa wanafanya nyumbani.
He says he acquired this skill from a trainer who only taught him for 5 minutes. The only thing that Njenga requires from you in order to share this skill with you is only one of these sewing needle that only goes for 300 shillings.
Ile kitu ambayo nahitaji ni kuhusia shindano ambayo unaenda kutumia kushonea mat. Hii shindano na kuhusia kutumia kwa nini ambayo unatumia kushonea hiyo gunia ambayo ni mat. Na hii shindano tunauza kwa shilingi 300.
Njenga has trained and continues to do so for many who intend to venture into self-employment, including others living with disabilities like Margaret Waithera.
Nikaanza kushona, kuna mama mwingine anakaa Bungoma, akanipa order na nikashona na nikatuma. Sasa tunaendelea hivyo.
His trainer Adam Alima says for just 10 minutes he can train you.
Kija basi wanaweza kujipatia sindano, lakini pia watafundishwa bure kabisa wala hachaji.
Calvin Chitwa, TV47, Uasin Gishu County.
Thank you so much, Calvin, for that story. It's a story about a man, George Njenga, who's training people on how to make mats, doormats. That's what he does. And you know what's really inspiring about this Zainab and Mudoka is that he's giving a helping hand to the less fortunate to show them how you can also make a living, you know, from this skill. What do you think about it, Mudoka and Zainab?
you know, it's not about just giving a man the fish. You're giving him the rod and everything. You show them now, how do you fish? Because we are not always in positions to help, but I think we have other ways to make sure that help remains constant. And I think having not only a mat, but a very beautiful mat in 5 minutes is quite fascinating, Zainab.
Yeah, true. And just like you said, you give someone fish, they'll come back tomorrow and they'll be like, kindly give me more fish. But once you teach them, then they will be able to go and fish the fish themselves, you know, fish out the fish, yeah. And
you know, interestingly, the man with the disability is able to do that and is able even to provide for his family. I think I heard him say he has 4 children who definitely depend on that. And he's making quite tremendous moves, and the people, you know, around are quite supportive, I must say. Very amazing story there by Calvin Chitwa. Thank you so much, Calvin, for that story. Thank you so much, Zainab and Mudoka, for your stories as well. And I hope I'll be seeing you here on Good Vibes next week. Most definitely. Yes, let's take a short break. We'll be back with much more. Welcome back. Now, fish vendors along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway in Naivasha are decrying of reduced fish sales. Now, the vendors are hopeful that the construction of a new fish market will boost their sales. Willie Dennis Jiro reports from Naivasha.
This is the busy Naivasha-Nairobi highway, where hundreds of motorists plying this route on a daily basis offer an opportune sale of fish to tens of fish vendors who spread between Kayole Estate to Line area that is over 10 kilometers apart.
Hii kazi nimeianza juzi, yenye nimefanya kidato cha 4, kutafuta kazi kwa uhaba wa kazi, masomo kuendelea ikawa ni shida kiasi, lakini nikaona ni vizuri nifanye kitu, nikaona nikuje huku nianze biashara ya kuuza samaki. Kwa saa hizi tuko na changamoto juu ya hivi, kuko na vumbi nini, corona. Sasa tunakuwa tuna changamoto kuuza samaki, lakini hatukosi kuuza 2-3, tunaweza kujikimu kimaisha.
Luckily, the fish is readily available from the Lake Naivasha that is closer home.
Samaki kule zinakosa, tunauzia bei kali. Tutakuwa na mashida mingi sana sasa hapa. Tunazumbuka. Sasa kama tungejengewa pale, zile soko tulikuwa tunajengewa, tutafurahia. Tuweza kuuza hizi samaki poa.
These speed bumps intend to slow the speed at which motorists move along this stretch. A blessing in disguise, for it becomes an opportunity to many of them to cash in. Sadly, not every buyer lives up to honor the sale transaction.
Sasa leo kuna customer amekuja hapa nikauza samaki 2. Tulikuwa na jamaa fulani hapa. Tukamtumia samaki za 1200. Baada atume pesa, akatuonesha message ikasoma jina. Akarudi sasa akaingia kwa gari akaenda. Sisi kuangalia kwa simu pesa ikufika. Ametuiba shilingi 1200.
Kunyang'anywa bana. Mimi juzi nimetumiwa pesa alafu mtu hakutuma zote. Sasa kabla ni notice pesa haijaingia ashaenda juu. Sometimes inakuwa chari kulipwa na M-Pesa. Kuna mtu anaweza kulipa alafu atume message kwa 254 anataka kulipa pesa. Safaricom wanaanza kupigia.
The county government of Nakuru has already acquired a piece of land at Line area for the construction of a special fish market that will ease the rush that has been witnessed here and stabilize the fish industry.
Kila mtu na bei yake, mimi bei yangu, ndugu yangu bei yake. Tukishafika pale kwa gari mteja akisimama, kila mtu na bei yake. Juu unajaribu uone kama samaki yako utauza ili upate kitu, lakini mkiweza kuwa kwa soko bei ni moja. Sasa uamuzi ni wa mteja, atanunulia nani, atawacha nani, juu hawezi nunulia kila mtu.
As always, it's a push and pull for these businessmen as each one of them tries to outdo the other when a customer pulls off.
Nimeshawahi kununua mara 4 kadhaa hivi. Samaki yao ziko sawa. Napenda kununua.
It is an impeccable timing for the two parties, where as one cashes from the other, a family enjoys a delicacy of white meat, the ball lying solely to the county of Nakuru for the realization of this dream. Reporting for TV47 from Naivasha in Nakuru County, I'm Willie Dennis Njiru.
Now, after Kenya Tea Development Agency Management Services suspended the importation of fertilizer for smallholder tea farmers for the year 2020, following disruptions in the importation chain occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, small-scale farmers in Nyeri have now opted to use organic fertilizers to increase their yield. Now, the agency said the farmers will be refunded their contributions they had made in the last 7 months, along with accrued interest. Now, Agriculture and Environment consultant Biodeposit Africa, Job Karidhi, said organic fertilizer is eco-friendly with maximum returns, calling on KTDA to embrace it before the pandemic is controlled.
That we continue as our body. Otherwise, we are worried now because see, we don't have even the fertilizer for this year. The money that was deducted from our payments was given back, and when it was given back, nobody came in to tell us where to probably to get the fertilizer.
This time the KTDA has stopped supplying us with artificial fertilizers that usually boost our yields, especially for boosting the forage. So lucky enough, like 3 years ago, it is when I discovered the power of Biodeposit organic fertilizer, of which I have been using. I've been dredging and also at times spraying my tea.
And in sports news, athletics legend Ben Jicho, who succumbed to prostate cancer last Friday, was laid to rest in Trans Nzoia County in a burial ceremony that was dominated by pleas of prioritization of the welfare of retired athletes. In response, Deputy President William Ruto, who attended the burial, revealed plans by the government to reward Kenyan athletes.
Wakasema yeye Muamerika lazima atajua. Na wiki keno iwazoea nchi hii juu katika ulimwengu. Na naomba kwa moja ama wewe waongee na familia wataenda ndani waongee na wao. So kanisa karibu katika area yetu na tumekufurahia sana. Jambo lingine ningependa kusema pole kwa mama wetu.
Wa Kenya tumefanya kazi na Ben Chipcho. Tumekimbia bila hata viatu. Nilikuwa na mkimbiaji wengine kutoka Mount Elgon ambaye walinisaidia, na nasema kwenu mna raw material. Hebu tukutane na walimu na wanamchezo katika Kenya, tuone wale talent ambaye muko naye hapa inaweza kuwakilisha nchi.
Lakini sasa hivi tumeweka mpango kamili kama serikali. Kila mwanariadha sasa akishinda dhahabu anapatiwa shilingi milioni 1 na serikali ya Kenya. Kila mwanariadha akipata bronze, silver, anapatiwa shilingi $500,000. Kila mwanariadha akipata bronze anapatiwa $250,000 na serikali ya Kenya, mbali na zile pesa zingine wanapata.
Kenyan tennis star Kevin Cheruiyot has his eyes set on the prestigious Tennis Masters Cup. As reports Julius Juma, Cheruiyot alias Ziggy ranks second in the country.
Ngumu sana. Toka mali nimetoka mpaka nifikia hapa ni imekuwa long journey kabisa.
It is a fairy tale that traces its roots to the slum-like area of Ganjoni in Mombasa County. School, almost a mirage, and poverty hanging on his childhood.
Tumetoka kwenye slums za Mombasa. Tumetoka kwenye shida nyingi sana ambayo hata mtu hawezi imagine wakati mali nimefikia sahi hata kuchezea country yangu. Kwetu sisi tunaweza kosa kwenda shule. Sasa tukosa kwenda shule tunajiingiza kwa tennis, hatutaki kukaa kwenye mtaa tu na watu wengine. So it's just all for the love of the game and the passion that we had for the game.
And as fate could have it, Kevin Cheruiyot alias Ziggy found himself in love with the sport. Unknown to him, this would offer him a lifeline and hook his family out of poverty.
Tunaona tu kwa TV, so ikatuingia tu kuwa pia sisi tunaweza taka kujaribu kucheza, lakini hatukujua tuanzie wapi. So tulipokuwa hapo nje, tunacheza nje, tuna hizi mbao tu, racket za mbao tumetengeza wenyewe, babu yetu ametengezea. Sasa tukawa tunacheza tu hapo na tumeweka meza katikati na tunajaribu kuwaigiza kina Serena.
From Ganjoni to the world, Ziggy has ascended global tennis ranks, currently second in the country.
Davis Cup hapa nyumbani ilikuwa amazing because we won it twice in a row, which is something that it's never happened before, I would say. And if it had happened before, maybe like 15-20 years ago.
As the sporting industry grapples with the COVID-19 beating, the tennis star is worried that his 2020 goals may just be unattainable.
Kwangu mimi imeni affect kuwa siwezi kupigania ranking yangu kwa sababu ya corona. Kwa hivyo ranking yangu kama hii mwaka nilikuwa nataka niwe top 500 ATP, lakini sasa naona haitakuwa possible kwa sababu ya corona.
Despite the uncertainty, the 22-year-old has his eyes on the prestigious Tennis Master Cup, which could just be the climax of his enviable career.
My biggest dream is to play Masters, which is you have to be top 8 to play Masters in the world. So that is my goal, to play Masters. Even if I get to top 8, I'll be happy to play. And that will be my greatest achievement ever. And also to Kenyans and to Africa players, I would say.
Kevin Cheruiyot alias Ziggy is second on the Kenyan log behind Shell Kotesha. His brother Ibrahim Kibet comes in third as Ishmael Changawa wraps up the top 4 slots. For TV47 Sports, I'm Julius Juma.
Juventus have appointed legendary midfielder Andrea Pirlo as their new under-23 manager. The 41-year-old regarded
We value your feedback, welcome any comments, queries or complaints regarding our programming content. You can get in touch with us on 0768095491 or send us a message on 22047. You can also send us a letter on Post Office Box 2358 00621 Nairobi or deliver it